All right, let's get to our 1 and 2 here. Joe, we both have Ohio State winning the Big Ten. We both have Oregon facing off against them in the, I guess, Big Ten title. Oh my God, Big Ten title game. So we're taking Ohio State to win the Big Ten this year. Joe, go ahead. What do you think of? Why do you have them winning the conference?
Yeah, I've been repeating this over and over again over the past couple of weeks on every single guest spot that I've done. They literally, Ohio State fans, I'm sorry to say this, as much as you guys hate Michigan, you literally did the same exact thing that Michigan just did this past offseason. You encouraged and enticed your top players that could have declared for the draft to come back. You bring back most of your offensive line, most of your defensive line, linebacker, core, secondary, and then you brought in a number of key big name transfer players, which is the step even further than what Michigan did because you went and got Caleb Downs, who is unbelievable, and you added Quinshon Judkins into an already really good running back room. Even if Will Howard, and this is all my qualm has been the whole offseason, is I just don't know how much more he elevates the quarterback room, but even if he is average, say he does not get into a rhythm and he's just really average next year, that team is so freaking good, it does not matter. 12-0. 12-0. I think that they beat Oregon once in the regular season, and then in the Big Ten championship game, Oregon could steal it back, but I'm still going to keep picking Ohio State in that matchup because of everything that they have front to back. Quickly to get to Oregon.
Oh, go ahead.
No, what were you going to say?
Isn't that game on the road for Ohio State?
It is on the road for Ohio State. I'm still picking them, man. I really like Oregon. I think that Oregon has an unbelievable receiving duo of Tez Johnson and Evan Stewart. I think that their run game, their offensive line is very underrated. But I just don't think that there is just a very slight separation gap in terms of the depth and the high-level talent that Oregon has or Ohio State has at every single position.
I think for me, because Ryan Day has been in these battles before even though he lost the national title game, he was still there. He's a field goal away from being what would be the national champion 2 years ago. Dan has not been in these fires like that. And when we've seen Dan, okay, I live by one rule. I think coaches like Dan Lanning can be exceptional, but Joe, I need to see him win a big game. And because he's such a new coach and he's not really done that, I need to see that happen. I think they're talented. I love Dylan Gabriel. But when I look at Ohio State, Joe, I do agree with Urban Meyer in this sense. They, talent v. talent, might have the best overall roster in the country, right? And so if that is the case, I don't think Ryan Day is as bad of a coach as people want to make him out to be. I actually think he's a really freaking good coach. He's won a lot of freaking football games. But see, here's another thing too.
Yeah.
His mentors with him. And I do think that gives him a sense of comfort. I do think having Chip there will give him something that maybe he was lacking in. Because, Joe, when we look at young coaches, which Ryan Day was, who was that old guy on the sidelines that, Day was right there looking. He didn't have that. Now he does. And I do question if there's just not an overall better staff at Ohio State. I mean, brother, Brian Hartline is still there. I mean, so what the play calling with? It's not his fault. He got Kyle McCord in his lap as a first-time play caller. So I just look at it all and say talent v. talent, staff versus staff, schedule kind of versus schedule to some extent. I got to pick Ohio State here, man. They're my Big Ten champion. In reference to Oregon, Joe, I don't – how do I want to say this? I feel like they were Georgia on the come up.
Yeah, it took them a bit to. I made this reference like a couple weeks ago. I said it took Kirby a bit. No, don't do this. Don't do this. Don't.
Okay, they're like Georgia on the come up to a lot of extents. For that reason alone, I just don't, like you said, I don't think Oregon is as talented at every single position group when it matters. And when you're looking at thin margins, I think that that's what matters.
The other one thing that you made a really good point on.
Oh, thank you.
Don't make me change me giving you a compliment. You made the strong point on Dan Lanning still hasn't accomplished winning a big important game when he needs to. And I'm not downing that he can't do it. He's not Mario Cristobal.
Me either.
I think he eventually will get there. But what you indirectly compared him and Ryan Day, and look at how long it's taken, how many reps of failure it's taken Ryan Day to get to this point where it feels like he's finally ready and he's finally hitting this stride. When you're a great coach like Dan Lanning is being projected to be, you need to go through enough adversity and to know how to handle that adversity. You're not going to just win easily. And you brought up the comparison to Kirby.
For example, when you're playing Washington on the road, and you should have kicked multiple field goals instead of going for it on fourth down. I know that he talks about being aggressive. Joe, he's got to overcome what he did a year ago, right? And twice. So in multiple crucial situations, he got out-coached against a guy that's been in this game longer than him, Kalen DeBoer. I just throw it out there and say, I think Ohio State's ready to be that team. Can they win it? I don't know. Do I think that they are a team that has enough talent to get there at the end? Yeah, I do. And, Joe, I'm going to have them in my national title game. I'll go ahead and say it. It doesn't bother me.
Ohio State in there, you're saying?
Yeah, Ohio State in my national title game. That being said, I got to pick them to win here. Here's another hot take. I think they are going to beat Oregon twice.
Yeah, I think that Oregon, good enough to run the table to go 11-1. Dan Lanning has been through enough to make those improvements and those steps forward. But what we're saying here, and to kind of wrap up what my point was that because Ryan Day was Dan Lanning, or is now Dan Lanning is where Ryan Day was 3-4 years ago.
Or it could be Kirby Smart.
But what I'm trying to get at is that Ryan Day is ahead of him in this process of needing to fail enough times before you succeed. Having been through adversity. I think perfect example for Ohio State here. Boston Celtics. Look how long it took them to get to this point for them to win an NBA championship. I know basketball, football is not a one-to-one parallel, but it took them enough times of falling short before they got to the spot where they were ready to win it. And that's the case for Ohio State. Oregon's just a little bit too soon. This video is sponsored by the online fitness training camp presented by Chris Gates Fitness. When I first started talking about Chris, about partnering with our show, not only was I excited to have a fitness sponsor for our pod, but more importantly, when I found out about how he can help people achieve their goals, I was even more bought in, because when the football season starts, it is so tough to stay on top of things and also to be able to enjoy yourself on Saturdays when it's game day. With Chris Gates Fitness's online training camp, you're going to be able to effectively stay focused, consistent, burn fat, build muscle, and do it with a like-minded community of individuals working towards the same thing. On top of this, you're going to be able to get direct coaching from Chris and the ability to ask him questions with an access to a live Q&A where you can get direct personalized support from Chris himself. Don't wait any longer. If you're trying to get in shape during this fall and you want to be able to do it with the right support system, head on over to chrisgatesfitness.com/training camp or click the link in the description. And you need to do it today because you can get the first month. Personal training is expensive, folks. The first month for only $10 when you use that code RuffinoJoe. Don't wait any longer. Head on over there. BetOnline remains your top spot for all of your live betting action and contests. NFL, college football, UFC, NHL are all in full swing. BetOnline is your number one source for wagering news, odds, trends, and predictions with both desktop and mobile access at any time. Head to BetOnline today and use promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for 50% off your first deposit. That is a 50% welcome bonus. Bet online, where the game starts.